Was the T-34 truly the greatest tank of World War II? Was it truly what it was thought to be? Was the T-34 in reality the best tank of World War II, the most reliable, the most powerful, the greatest? Well, in today's video, we're going to be discussing the T-34, specifically two versions of it, the T-34 down here and the T-34-85 up here. Let's begin. But we have one question to answer at the end of the video. Was the T-34 truly the greatest tank of World War II? The T-34. Alright, so as you can see, we have our model of the T-34 up here with all the stuff in it, see-through, you can see the different things in it. Ooh, had a 76mm main gun, 4 crew members, served in over 23 different wars. Yeah, after the Soviet Union fell apart, because there were so many countries in the Soviet Union, so many satellite states, this thing ended up in a lot of countries. It used a Model V2-30. It used a Model 2-34 engine, and over 35,000 units were produced in the time of World War II. Had Christie suspension, like most vehicles, or like most Russian vehicles. And yeah, as you can see from this picture, we have a T-34. These served from pretty much 1940 to 1945. Served all of World War II for the most part. Was very effective, served in Stalingrad. A lot of these won the Battle of Kursk, but I would say the next one maybe won the Battle of Kursk more. And yeah, it was so good that even the Germans used it. As you can see up here, there's some captured T-34s. And it wasn't that it was a powerful tank. There was another factor that you have to play in. Sloped armor. Now, a lot of the German tanks just had rectangular armor, but this sloped armor, because it was sloped, the shells would bounce off of the front. Whereas the front armor, which was, I think, 60mm armor, when it was sloped, it became like 70 or 75mm armor. It became thicker almost, but while still making it 60mm technically. And this was pretty effective. The Panzers had a tough time penetrating them. Only real thing that could really penetrate it was the Flak 88 anti-aircraft gun, which was turned into a tank gun and put onto the Tiger 1, Tiger 2. Some Panthers even had them, and a lot of tank destroyers did, especially the Jagdtiger 120mm gun. That was a mess. But yeah, all around these are effective tanks. They worked. They were when they came out, they were fairly cheap. And on average, they made pretty much 1,000, like 300. They made around 1,300 per month, which is pretty insane considering that it's not really that insane when you look at their production number, 35,000. In total, they made around 85,000 T-34s of all different variants, which, for some context, the Americans made 50,000 Shermans in World War II, and the Germans made around 8,000 Panzer IVs in total from all variants. And you would know that from my Panzer IV video. So let's carry on. The T-34-85. Now, this one is interesting. The T-34-85 is not so much different to the T-34, but it does have some changes. The T-34-85, as you can see from the 85 behind the T-34 had an 85mm main gun, ZIS-S-53. That was the name of the gun. Weighed 35 tons. Its range was, depending on like road range, 186 to 301 miles. Kilometers, I didn't check, but that's what it is in miles. had 20 to 90 millimeter armor. So in like some areas, like the turret, like over here, it might have like 90 millimeter armor. On top, it might have like 20 millimeter armor, and like in the back, but around in like these parts, it had like 60 millimeter armor. It had 60 in these parts. Christie suspension and like the T-34, and had the same exact engine, I believe, as the T-34. The biggest changes were the upgraded gun. The main T-30, the 85 millimeter gun was added, which was much more powerful. Um, the also because it had a much bigger gun, the turret had to be increased in size. So if you looked at the T-34 from before, it had a much smaller turret compared to this one. Also, they made around 40,000 of these. Made around 40,000, like 45,000 of these tanks, which is pretty insane considering that when they came out, it was like late 1943, and they were running out of, or like, and it was late into the war. By then, they were basically demolishing the Germans, and the Germans were having a hard time demolishing these. So yeah, these served in Stalingrad. They served in Kursk. These won the Battle of Kursk. Um, they served. Some of them even served in Berlin when that whole thing was happening. When the Battle of Berlin happened. Some they served in the Battle of Minsk. I think that was 1944. And yeah, all around these were the Red Army's big tank in the 1944. So yeah, overall, I would say that this is a really good tank. um, I would say it was one of the best in the whole war. Is it the best? Like, I don't know. We're gonna answer that though. And our last thing, I know this is pretty quick, just because a lot of the facts are here. The T-34 85s also, they served in Korea, Vietnam. The Vietnamese had them. Even some of them even served in the Yugoslav wars, like in the 90s. They're probably a rare sight, 100%, but they were in those. They were in their stockpiles, and some are even serving in Ukraine, because the Russians and the Ukrainians, they have to look through their stockpile for different tanks because they're mainly using Cold War tanks. So some of these have ended up on the battlefields of Ukraine, which is pretty interesting. Some of these also, they even served in the 6 Day War in Israel. Actually, a good amount of these ended up in the Middle East as well. So yeah, these tanks fought all over. And if you go to any major tank museum, they're probably gonna have T-34s, just because these got imported across the world, and like the Soviet Union like sold them, and American and like all sorts of other countries would buy them. Yeah, these were imported widely, so all around it was a pretty effective tank, and it had a pretty long lifespan for its time. So now we're gonna look at the final one, conclusion. Now all around, I would say the T-34 and the T-34 85 were very effective vehicles. They were certainly effective. They were good. They were well. The crews were good. Um, it did have some problems though, not like intense problems. One of the major things that crew members talked about was how when you changed gear, it was so stiff you had to use a sledgehammer to literally change the gear. So you had to hit like the gear rod. I don't know what they use to change gears, but I'm assuming it's like with cars you use like the gear stick. But you would have to hit that with a freaking sledgehammer to change gears because it was that stiff. But anyways, other than that, these were also pretty cheap, so they were very robust. They're very rugged. They're very robust. So they weren't really like they weren't like German Panzers where they're made like meticulously in a factory. These ones are probably made in factories just being built on the dot. Like every factory be making like 25 per day. Like they were pumping out T-34s left and right. The Russians were. And yeah, the Germans had a tough time dealing with them. Even though the Tiger 1 had the 88 millimeter gun that could penetrate the T-34, when you have 1,300 Tigers and 85,000 T-34s, you could probably guess who's going to win. It wouldn't even be a fight. It would 100% be the T-34. Now, is it the best tank of all of World War II? I would say it's probably one of the best. I wouldn't say it's the best, but for all that's done, for its robust effectiveness, for its successes, for its counterattacks that's done in 1943 to 1945 when it pushed back the Germans back to Germany, the fatherland. Yeah, these were effective tanks without a doubt. I wouldn't say that they were the best tank of the whole war. That can be judged a lot. Like, you may say, oh, the Panther was the best tank of World War II, even though they didn't get a whole lot of them out there. Or you could say, oh, the Tiger 1 was the best tank of World War II, even though they only made like 1,000 of them. Or maybe you would even say, oh, the Sherman's the best tank of World War II because it was effective. And I mean, yeah, sure, the Sherman was a Zippo, but it would light every time, but still, it was able to punch into Germany. It was able to liberate France and get into Germany. But I would say the T-34 is probably the best tank of World War II. I don't know. That can be definitely judged and that can definitely be determined. But I would safely say for now it's the best tank of World War II, definitely. Um, Once again, you could say it's the Panther, the Tiger, the Sherman, maybe even the Crusader if you like British tanks. Could even be the Centurion, even though that didn't even fight in World War II. Maybe it was the Pershing, which had limited service in World War II. You could say it was any major power and their most effective tank. You could theoretically, if you match it all up, one of them could be the best tank. But I would say the T-34 and the T-34-85 and all their different versions was the best tank of World War II. That's gonna do it for this video. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you learned about the T-34. Hopefully you got entertained or something. That's gonna do it for this video. Make sure to subscribe and make sure to also leave a like. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see other ones, that's no problem because I'm gonna be making more of these. Anyways, goodbye and have a lovely day.